Welcome to Waterfront TV. I'm John Wimberly.
And I'm Jane Nicholson. Thanks for joining us.
This is our first show of the new year. Welcome 2016.
We're back with a fresh new set and looking forward to this new season of the show.
And we're starting the year off right.
We are. So after a week of controversy over the Academy Award nominations and the internet filled with the hashtag #OscarsSoWhite, here at home we have an African-Canadian show that's making waves and is up for one of Canada's top awards. We have a story on that coming up.
And I'm glad that you'll be getting the chance to hear about an entirely unique initiative to open up discussion of mental illness in regions of Africa where now it's all but absent. It's a fascinating project with a local connection.
These stories and much more coming up on WTV.
To begin, here's Kristen Brown with this week's headlines.
Thank you, John. We start tonight's news with a recent study that shows not a lot of students are using campus health clinics to be tested for STIs. Now, a Dalhousie researcher is finding out why. Elizabeth Tassavenuels is the principal investigator for the new study. She says there are many psychological factors that prevent students from getting tested.
The shame of having to face a doctor or a nurse and tell them about personal stuff like sexual experiences and so on might be keeping people from getting tested.
Tassavenuels says finding out what's preventing students from using the services should help universities make STI testing more student-friendly and increase the number of people who get the tests. Results of the online survey will be available on Dal Health websites by March. It was a full house at the Black Cultural Centre this past Saturday as community members took part in a Halifax Fire and Emergency Recruitment Info session. Executive Fire Officer Phil McNulty says the goal is to attract people from different backgrounds to better reflect the diverse communities in HRM.
We're very confident that we're going to end up with the result that we're looking for, which are recruit classes that look like the community.
Ali Duali is originally from Somalia. He's been a firefighter for the city for 11 years and says there are still struggles when it comes to discrimination.
There's a history for this part of the country in terms of discrimination and all this, so we come from a long way and we have a long way to go, but overall this is the best formula.
Applicants no longer have to have post-secondary education to apply and won't have to pay a costly application fee. A new community safe place is seeing lots of traffic in Lower Sackville. This area inside of Cape and Cowl Comics and Collectibles is where young people can go to be themselves. The area is named after Leanne Wichman, the former executive director of the Youth Project, a nonprofit organization that focuses services for the LGBTQ community. Wichman died suddenly in 2014. Jay Roy is the owner of Cape and Cowl and a longtime friend of Wichman's.
Any youth are safe here. They can come in, they can drop in, especially if they're in, the LGBTQI, community. They can feel safe. They know if they drop in here, they're going to be respected. Their identities are going to be respected no matter what they are, which is something that she was all about.
The area includes a kitchen, coaches, video game consoles, books, and board games. It's free to use. Roy says new events are held each week, including video game clubs, storyteller meetups, and magic tournaments. Mental health is getting a lot of media coverage these days, and more people are feeling comfortable speaking up about their own struggles. But in some African countries, it's not talked about at all. Scott Hastings tells us about a project that's working to change that.
Of stigma around mental health.
Mental Health on Air is a three-part documentary about mental health and illness in the African countries of Tanzania and Malawi.
In Africa, the mental illness, we don't take it seriously.
We're sitting on a time bomb.
There's not much effort to address the mind.
Project Use Farm Radio, a Canadian charity that uses radio as a tool for spreading information. In this case, radio was used to break down stigmas by creating and broadcasting a soap opera radio show. The show was interactive through mobile phones. It was a teen drama dealing with real-life situations.
And radio broadcasters and journalists themselves hold the same stigmas that the general population has. So that might be stigmas around that all mentally ill people are violent, stigmas around possession and witchcraft as being causes of mental health issues.
Dr. Stan Kuchar is a Dalhousie psychiatry professor who headed the project. He is inspired by the efforts the people of Africa put forward.
How they could be so committed to do such difficult and challenging work with almost no resources because they wanted to make a difference.
When the project began 3 years ago, there was only one psychiatrist in all of Malawi, and there wasn't even a word for depression in their native language. Over 30,000 young people participated in the radio program through polls, surveys, and general messages.
The people did an amazing job. And all we did basically was give people the tools, and they went and did what needed to be done.
The program got support from major radio DJs in the area. The radio show reached over 500,000 people and had a very catchy name.
Okay, so in Malawi, the name of our radio show is Nkawa J Yonsibo, and that directly translates, so that's in the local language Chichewa, and that directly translates into a depression-free life is cool.
Organizers hope to provide the 3-part documentary to schools across Africa to promote mental health. The project was funded by the federal government, and next year, Kuchar hopes to expand it. Scott Hastings, WTV News, Halifax.
Thank you, Scott. If you want to see the documentary, look for Mental Health on Air on YouTube. A wetland in Dartmouth could be wiped out for an industrial development, and that has some community members worried. The Eisner Cove wetland is a stretch of wilderness that goes from Shearwater to the Penhorn Woodlawn area. Bill Zebedee created this Facebook page. He says he doesn't want to see the 180-hectare forest disappear.
They're going to be getting rid of a lot of the wood area around the wetland, and there's so much nature here that it's a beautiful spot just in the middle of Dartmouth. We don't want to see it disappear.
The city notified residents early last week that Innovacorp plans to use a piece of the wetland for a new industrial building. But Zebedee says there are other options that would protect the wetlands, like building a boardwalk to improve access. A community meeting is being held tonight at South End Baptist Church to discuss the plans. Many skaters and spectators headed to the Emera Oval in Halifax on the weekend to celebrate the halfway point to the Halifax Pride Festival.
Grow up, if you want to marry a boy or you want to marry a girl, that's cool. Well, that's diversity.
Beers on Ice is Halifax Pride's first event of its kind on the road to this summer's festival. Event organizers wanted to hold a more family-friendly celebration instead of an adult-only event. Karina Ferlin is the vice chair of Halifax Pride.
But there are also a lot of families, there are a lot of youth and other people in the communities who don't necessarily enjoy that kind of event. We wanted to try something different that would be a lot more inclusive.
Celebrating the halfway point to Pride is a tradition in the LGBTQ community. The Halifax Pride Festival is the 4th largest in Canada and will run from July 16th to 26th. That's your headlines for this week. We'll head back up to the studio with John and Jane.
Thanks, Kristen. We're proud of the show we bring you every week, but that's right, beyond what you see on your screen, on video, there's a whole lot more that we do.
If you visit our website, waterfronttv.org, you'll find more news stories every week, along with an archive of past shows, reports, and a lot more. This week, one of our web reporters, our friend Ed Halverson, is looking at changes to the way the CBC moderates your comments online and how that changes our national conversation.
So check us out right here.
Thank you, Vanna.
For those stories, as well as a profile on a Halifax sledge hockey team and an inspiring young athlete who's a part of it. Check us out online and we'll be right back. There's been an outpouring of support for Syrian refugees across the country. And here in Nova Scotia, more than 100 groups are sponsoring people.
Our own Jake Nissen has the story of one such group in Dartmouth doing its best to bring a family to their community.
There was a big crowd at St. Peter Parish last Friday. People came out for a concert in support of downtown Dartmouth for refugees, a group of local people who are working to bring a Syrian family of 6 to Dartmouth.
Every time I turn around, if I've either asked people for something or even suggested something, I've never once received a negative response.
Proceeds from the concert will add to the already surpassed goal of $27,000. Broadbent says there's more to the effort besides simply bringing the family here.
We are responsible for the family for 1 year. That includes accommodations, that includes schooling, medical supplies, clothing, food, you name it.
The night's musical guests, George Herbert and Bob Lambert, kept the evening filled with music and laughter.
And the organizers are just like blown away by the community support. They're like, it's a full house. There's people in the balcony. It's great. I think they seem to be quite overwhelmed with how many people have come out tonight. It's great.
Their group has so far raised more than $40,000, and they are continuing to accept donations at CanadaHelps.org and are hoping to have the family here by the end of June. Jake Nissen, WTV News, Dartmouth.
It's been really inspiring to see so many folks orienting themselves toward helping others. Only good can come of that, I'd say. But I digress. What do we have next, Jane?
Well, staff at the province's largest newspaper have been on strike since Saturday. We wanted to find out more about the Chronicle Herald strike and what people on the picket line are saying.
That's right. Our reporter, Marilyn Sexton, is here to tell us more. Marilyn?
Thanks, John. Created in 1874, the Chronicle Herald is Canada's oldest independent newspaper. Only 8 years ago, it was one of the top 100 employers in Canada. Employees on the picket line say they're just trying to protect their good jobs. Leading up to the strike, Herald management said it wanted to reduce wages, increase working hours, change pension benefits, and lay off up to 18 workers to cope with economic challenges in the newspaper industry. Mary Ellen McIntyre is a news reporter at the Herald. She says if wages are cut, she'll have to move away.
Now that I'm living here in Halifax, I love it and like to stay, but a reduction in salary would mean I couldn't.
Gordie Sutherland is a web editor. He says he's still hopeful a deal can be reached.
We've certainly successfully worked out contracts in the past, and like any contract, you don't always get everything you want, but both sides may be hurt a little bit, but at the end of the day, you come out of it as a team.
I believe it has a reputation for fairness and balance, but it has that reputation because of the quality of the people that work for it. The Chronicle Herald, we've always been proud. Who wouldn't be proud to say they work for the Chronicle Herald?
I asked for a comment from the Herald management, and I was told there would be no comment while negotiations with the union are taking place. John?
Thanks, Marilyn. Lots of people here are watching the lead up to the U.S. election, including dual citizens like myself, both American and Canadian. The Republican candidates for president are getting most of the airtime, thanks to Donald Trump's seemingly endless controversial remarks. But the race on the Democratic side is finally capturing some attention in the states and around the world, thanks to a challenge to the perceived frontrunner, former Secretary of State Hillary Clinton. Nicole Martell is here to break it down. Nicole?
Let's start with former Secretary of State Hillary Clinton. She's the candidate everyone recognizes. She's got lots of political experience, she's a former New York Senator, and of course was First Lady when her husband Bill Clinton was president. Clinton's main rival is Bernie Sanders, who calls himself a Democratic socialist. It's a surprise to many that this 74-year-old senator from Vermont is giving Clinton a run for her money. Polls even have him leading Clinton in some states. He's been active in politics for more than 30 years. Both Sanders and Clinton have the experience, so what's the difference between these Democrats when it comes to the big issues? Let's take a look. On health care, Sanders wants to create a universal health care system, just like Canada. He says he'd increase taxes to fund this. But Clinton, on the other hand, would expand Obamacare, which still includes private companies. When it comes to legalizing pot, Sanders is all for this. He says that too many people are in jail for pot offenses, and that's costing taxpayers money. Clinton, however, says she would only loosen the restrictions on pot, and she would get researchers to look into the best uses for the drug. Another big one, money. The money for their campaigns has come from very different places. Sanders gets most of his from unions and individuals, while Clinton's comes from big corporate investors, something she's been widely criticized for. Those are just a few things to watch leading up to the Democratic primaries next month, and if you want to put your money on Clinton or Sanders, Atlantic Lotto is taking bets. Back to you.
Thanks, Nicole.
We need to take a short break, but you'll want to stick around. Later I'll tell you about some local high school students I met and their robots.
You're watching WTV.
Canadian Screen Award nominations are out, and a Halifax-based TV show is on the list. This week on Your City, Your Stories, we spoke to Kate McDonald, one of the stars of CBC's Studio Black.
From an early age, Halifax's Kate McDonald has been performing.
From the beginning, since I could talk. Since I've opened my mouth, I've been performing and forcing people to watch me and look at me and pay attention.
Last year, Studio Black director Corey Bowles reached out to her about a new role.
Corey sent me a Facebook message, Corey Bowles, and was like, can you send me a couple videos of you doing some monologues? I was like, yeah, anything for you. And then I didn't really hear back. He asked me to do them again, so I did. And then he kind of told me what the project was about.
The production was Studio Black, an all-black cast ensemble that tells old stories collected from rural and urban black communities in 1920s Nova Scotia. McDonald plays several different roles in the series and says the show is a dream job.
It's a time of my life. Like, everyone is so talented and brings so much to the table that I feel privileged just to like walk into that space. And to work for CBC is a dream.
Last week, the show was nominated for Best TV Movie or Limited Series at the Canadian Screen Awards. McDonald says that this is a big deal for African Canadians.
I think that there have been some opportunities to show the capabilities of Black youth, and I think that this is a huge project. We're an entirely Black cast. The directors are all Black. It's gigantic.
McDonald's girlfriend, Emma Paulson, says that McDonald's work on a show that showcases African Nova Scotian history and culture is even more important than any future awards.
That was cool that I knew this chick that was on TV and that she was like handling such like incredible topics that needed to be brought to television, I guess, and it was just really cool to see a local doing those things.
McDonald says that while acting is her focus, she hopes to branch into other areas as well.
Mentor, you know, other people in the same avenue. That would be really cool. Working with youth and helping them be creative and finding their creative voice is also something that's like so cool.
Studio Black has just been picked up by CBC for a second season. It airs this summer, and the Canadian Screen Awards will be held on March 13th.
Well, until then, let's check out what's going on in local entertainment.
The Savor Food and Wine Festival is kicking off right about now. The first of 5 events start tonight at the World Trade and Convention Center. You can sample some of the best food and wine Halifax has to offer. Tickets for these events are available on their website. If you've always wanted to have breakfast with the mayor, you're in luck. The Celtic Corner Pub is hosting one with Mayor Mike Savage on Friday morning. Tickets are $30, and some of the money will be donated to Syrian refugees. The breakfast begins at 7:30. Take a chance on Saturday and head down to the Royal LePage Atlantic office on Bears Road for a Monopoly tournament. Pre-registration is required, and the entry fee is $50. Proceeds go to the Leukemia and Lymphoma Society of Canada. For a chance to see art like you've never seen it before, head down to the Art Gallery of Nova Scotia for Art Party. The event promises to crush boundaries about what you thought art was supposed to be. Prices range from $6 to $11, and it's a 19+ event. The party starts at 8 p.m. on Saturday. That's all for our entertainment news this week. I'm Matthew Moore. Back to you guys.
Thanks, Matthew.
So we actually grew up in the same area.
That's right, just southwest of Halifax, a stone's throw from here.
And I went back to our old stomping grounds, my old high school, to visit some remarkable young people. I could say more, but basically,
robots.
A group of students at Sir John A. Macdonald High School have turned this into this. They're getting ready for RoboFest, a competition at Acadia University on February 13th, where students create robots and program them to complete different tasks. All they're given is a Lego kit, and it's up to them to put the robots together. Lauren Soulsby is one of the students participating in RoboFest. She says the competition gives girls the opportunity to get involved in computer science and engineering.
So I think that we just need to kind of break the stigma of physics and engineering being a boys' profession and just show girls how fun it is.
This is the first year Sir John A is sending teams to RoboFest. Chris McDonald is a physics teacher and the coach for the robot teams.
We have 4 teams going to the RoboFest competition. That's more than any other high school in the province, so it's pretty exciting. We'll be a big group going.
One of the tasks their robot has to complete is hitting multiple golf balls from one end of the table into holes at the other end. Students say creating a robot has forced them to be creative.
It taught a lot about problem solving and like trial and error, and a lot of that happens all the time while doing this. And you really have to think outside of the box in a lot of ways because you don't have a set guideline. You're given the kit and told, hey, go build a robot that can play golf.
So there's quite a bit of work left to do, but that's up to the students. I just open the door and stay here with them. They do all the work.
The teams who win at Acadia will head to the big international event in Michigan this May.
Robots. Love it. And I'd love to hear more, but that, my friends, is all the time we have for this week.
But as we said, there's a lot more fun, local, great stories online. They're just a few clicks away.
We've got your Facebooks, we've got your Twitters, we've got your Instagrams, we've got your Snapchats, we've got your Tinders. So definitely swipe right on WTV.
Just check us out online at WTV Media. And within the next few weeks, we'll be releasing something we've been working very hard on all year.
It's a substantial piece of journalism, and you'll be seeing that soon on our website.
Thanks so much for watching.
And for engaging with us online, for being such a warm and interesting community for us to work with, telling your stories each week.
Until next time,
good night.